A new act has unfolded in Green Bay, and with it comes a revived spirit and a new field leader in Don Majkowski. But last week, the Packers suffered their worst beating of the season, losing 28-0 to Buffalo. So today, they must put their scars behind them and get back on the right track. The youthful Atlanta Falcons have been a hard luck team this season, but last week in Philadelphia, they finally turned the corner, relying on big plays from their defense and the leadership of quarterback Chris Miller. Atlanta showed great poise in coming back against the Eagles. And today they hope to build on last week's momentum. They last met 5 years ago when Bart Starr's Packers watched Kenny Johnson return this interception to give Atlanta a thrilling overtime victory. Stadium for an interdivision battle between two teams looking for the winning formula, the Green Bay Packers and the Atlanta Falcons. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm James Brown. Well, make no mistake about it, both Atlanta and Green Bay have been struggling franchises over the past several years, and with identical 2-7 marks, nothing would appear to have changed. However, these two squads are young and aggressive and do see a light at the end of the tunnel. Let me bring in my partner, Gary Fencik. And Gary, any optimism about future success for these two teams has to start with their young quarterback.
Both the Packers and Falcons are starting second-year quarterbacks. Number one pick for the Falcons, Chris Miller, no surprise. The big surprise has been the 10th-round pick last year for the Packers, Don Majkowski. He's added some pizzazz and excitement to that offense.
Well, Gary, neither one of these teams, of course, are in their respective division races. What's the real incentive for a victory today?
Well, unfortunately, I've been in that position before where you're going into the second half of the season and you pretty much know you're not going to make the playoffs. But you are trying to build for the future. And I think both these teams are going up rather than their organizations going down. And I think you have to have a lot of fun because for 60 minutes today, those records on the field don't mean anything.
Atlanta has won the coin toss and will receive. Kicking off for Green Bay, number 4, Dale Dawson. And back deep for the Falcons, Evan Cooper, number 20, and number 41, Tim Gordon. And we're underway here in Atlanta. A doubleheader Sunday here on CBS Sports. And that's Cooper taking it inside the 5. And Cooper with an excellent return, giving the Falcons good field position. They'll start just shy of the 30-yard line. Ron Simpkins on a stop. Chris Miller at the helm for the Falcons. Outstanding young quarterback, just 23 years of age. And the defense of the Packers that he'll be facing, Alfonso Carricker. Bob Nelson in at the nose tackle in place of Blaze Winter, Robert Brown. And the linebacking core, Anderson, Brian Noble, Johnny Holland, Tim Harris right outside linebacker. The secondary, Lee, Brown, Stills, and Mark Murphy. 1st and 10 for Atlanta at their own 30. And the Falcons keep it on the ground. This is John Settle, and Settle has nowhere to run. Stopped behind the line of scrimmage. Give the credit to Bob Nelson, who's in at the starting nose tackle in place of Blaze Winter. In the backfield for the Falcons, Chris Miller, John Settle doing an excellent job in place of Riggs, Gene Lang, Michael Haynes getting the nod, 2 catches for 2 touchdowns last week, Floyd Dixon, and Ken Wisenhunt at the tight end. Offensive line, Mike Ken, John Scully, George Yarno, Bill Fralick, and Houston Hoover. 2nd and 11 for the Falcons, loss of 1. This is Haynes in motion. And the Falcons keep it on the ground. Gene Lang across the 30, a pickup of maybe 2. And Gary, pretty obvious that Atlanta wants to start with the running game.
Well, that's one thing with Riggs out there. We're hoping that he might be able to join the backfield today. But instead, he hurt his knee or didn't re-injure it, but it was just sore on Thursday, so they can't have him into the lineup. But this is a Falcon offense that clearly has to establish the run. And a young quarterback, if given the time, feels he can get deep on this Packer secondary.
And a young quarterback that Marion Campbell is very, very pleased with, knowing that's the main piece of the puzzle he's got to start with. Pickup of only 1, 3rd and 9. For the Falcons, 3 wide receivers, 1 running back at the receiver spot. Miller back to pass. And it's complete. It's going to be shy of the 1st down. James Milling, the receiver, on the far side. And the Falcons will come up short in their effort for the 1st down. We'll bring up a punting situation. Rick Donnelly leads the NFC with an average This young man here, Sterling Sharp, leads the NFC with an average of 4.9 yards per punt return. And Sharp takes it and is dropped. Excellent coverage by the punt cover team of Atlanta. Michael Haynes, a 48-yard punt, no return. As you take a look at the Magic Man, Don Majkowski, second-year quarterback out of the University of Virginia. He'll be facing an Atlanta defense. Mike Gann, Tony Casillas, and Rick Bryan are the front three. Linebacking core, Andre Bruce, John Rady, Joel Williams, and Michael Reed in place of the injured Marcus Cotton. And the secondary, Bobby Butler, Scott Case, Robert Moore, and Brett Clark. So 1st and 10 from the pack for the Packers. Ball marked at their own 15. And Majkowski keeps it on the ground. A handoff to Lang. And Lang will make that Woodside. Check that, Keith Woodside, the ball carrier. The backs and receivers. You saw Woodside, the ball carrier. Brent Fullwood, wide receivers, Phillip Epps, and Sterling Sharp, tight end, Ed West. And the offensive line, Ken Rutgers, Rich Moran, Mark Cannon, Ron Hallstrom, and Keith Bucher. 2nd and 5 from the 21. Majkowski back to pass on 2nd down. And it's complete. This is Woodside. And Gary, Woodside indicated to us last night this offense is tailor-made for him.
You know, we were talking to him. He said what teams he wanted to talk to were Denver or Cleveland when Infante was still at Cleveland. Was really excited about coming to Green Bay because he's a good pass receiver, a good runner, and he really felt that this is the type of offense that he'd fit well into.
That play was good enough for the 1st down. So Green Bay with Phillip Epps. Split to the right. 1st and 10. Ball at their own 27, out of the I formation. On the ground again, this is Woodside, shaking and baking across the 30 to about the 32-yard line. Pick up a 4 to 5 yards by Keith Woodside, and Gary, he didn't seem to lack in confidence at all. Not cocky, but just very confident.
Well, I think you have a young team here who, despite the problems the Packer organization has had record-wise the last couple of years, these young guys have no memory of that. They want to establish a new feeling, and Infante with his offensive scheme, he did so well at Cleveland, they hope he can bring that magic to Green Bay.
2nd and 4. Ball marked at the 33. Out of the pro set. Majkowski keeps it on the ground. Fullwood with the 1st down yardage and more. So Brent Fullwood finding daylight and taking full advantage of it. A 12-yard run by Brent Fullwood.
Well, the Packers are going to do well. They've got to get the ball to Fullwood, number 21. Good blocking here. Big hole. He cuts it back, comes up. Brent Fullwood did not have many yards the last couple of weeks, and in fact, the Packers' rushing attack has been pretty dismal, so they want to get out of the backs early. In order to do that, you've got to give it to Brent Fullwood.
Last week, Fullwood only 2 carries for 7 yards, specifically against the Buffalo Bills. 1st and 10, ball at the 45 of Green Bay, just underway in the 1st quarter, no score. Majkowski back to pass on 1st down. He's got Fullwood. Fullwood across midfield to the 40, the 35, and Brent Fullwood finally run out of bounds by Brett Clark. A 22-yard gain on that pass play from Majkowski to Brent Fullwood.
One of the things Infante tries to do in his scheme is a lot of different formations. You see Majkowski gets plenty of time to throw the ball, drops it off in a little screen, and then it's up to your running back to find the holes. You can see here, it's just good running. Makes a little move here. Boy, you get out of here, they're down in their own territory and gets to be one in field position where they love to score in your first series.
And Green Bay impressive on their first drive. Ball marked at the 33 of Atlanta. The handoff to Fullwood, and Fullwood gets down to the 30 before being stopped by Tony Casillas.
Well, Casillas is going to be very important today. The front three for this Atlanta Falcon defense played great against Philadelphia last week. And that's Rick Bryan, Casillas, Mike Gann. They have a number one pick, the number one pick in the draft, Andre Bruce at one linebacker, and then they lost Marcus Cotton, their second round pick, and the other linebacker had an operation on his knee.
On 2nd and 7 out of the I formation. Ball marked at the 30 of the Falcons. Play action. Majkowski under pressure. Gets rid of it to Keith Woodside and slips a tackle. And gets across the line of scrimmage for a dive of maybe 2 yards. Scott Case on the tackle.
That time Woodside did a great job of escaping Joel Williams, who had him back in the backfield. They set up the screen nice, but Joel Williams, who's an old pro, smelled it out quickly, and Woodside was lucky to avoid him. Did a good job of running and kept him out of that 3rd and long situation that hurts any young offense.
Brings up a 3rd and 5 for the Packers. 4 wideouts in. Shotgun left. And Majkowski under heat. Gets rid of it. Tim Gordon with the DB rush that time.
That time they blitzed him. Majkowski, he had nowhere to go. No one picks up Gordon. He's coming from the right side of your screen. And I think he's pretty lucky that they didn't call grounding on that one, because the running back, Caruth, never even looked back for the ball.
So Dale Dawson will get an opportunity to attempt a 45-yard field goal for the Packers. It's up. And it's no good. So Dale Dawson in his 2nd game as a Green Bay Packer kicks it wide. No score here in Atlanta. Dale Dawson misses his first field goal attempt in a Packer uniform in game number 2 for him. Scoreless affair here, and Gary Chris Miller, very important to this Atlanta offense.
Well, he's important to the offense and the defense of the team, because with him in there, as you can see, they score a lot of points, and it hasn't been that he's failed to start games, but finished them. And he finished last week against Philadelphia. They won that game. The previous game he finished, they also won, but that was way back against San Francisco.
Not a particularly big guy, but boy, can he take some punishment. 1st and 10 for the Falcons at their own 28. No score. First quarter action here in Atlanta. 3 wideouts in. Miller rolling right. Going downfield, and it's complete to Michael Haynes. Dropped at the 45-yard line. So Michael Haynes continues his hot hands. A 16-yard pass play from Miller to Haynes.
Michael Haynes last week caught his first touchdown pass against Philadelphia. He caught 2 passes. They were both for touchdowns. All the receivers are just running deep. It's a design play to roll outside, get outside the protection, and then they just find a hole in the zone. And a nice catch by a young receiver. 7th round pick out of Arizona.
Rookie from Northern Arizona, Johnny Holland on the stop. Brings up 1st and 10 for the Falcons at their own 44. This is John Settle. Settle trying to turn the corner and gets across midfield to about the 49-yard line. Run out of bounds by Mark Murphy. A pickup of about 6 by John Settle. And talk about excellent play since he's been starting. John Settle certainly has done just that.
Well, when you get a free agent who's on his way potentially to get 1,000 yards rushing, you have to feel that your scouting staff did a great job of getting him to come in. But if they get Gerald Riggs back, and they will before the end of the season, the thought of having Settle and Gerald Riggs back there is going to be a frightening one for a lot of defenses.
Settle took over in week 5 for an injured Riggs. 2nd and 3 for the Falcons. Ball marked at the 49. Haynes in motion. Straight ahead goes Gene Lang. And Lang picks up about 4 on the play.
You know, you take a look at Gene Lang. He's got that visor on. I don't know, he probably got poked in the eye. Mike Ken had his eye poked during preseason. He wears a shield. And I was talking to Mike Ken, their left tackle, and he said, you know, in a few years, it's very possible that it'll be mandatory when you wear a helmet that it has a shield on it, because so many guys are getting poked in the eye, and you don't want to lose your vision in the game of football.
Run good enough by Lang for the first down for the Falcons. 1st and 10, ball at the 45 of Green Bay, play action. And Miller going long.
is for certain. Even though he's wearing a dark visor, he can see the football. Tim Harris almost got a sack on that play. They're both battling. He fights, he beats Murphy, and he gets a touchdown. Nice concentration. Look at Murphy's reaction. He was all over him on that play, but not good enough, and the ball was just thrown up in the air, and Murphy, with his back to the line of scrimmage, never was able to locate the ball where Gene Lang did.
And Greg Davis's point after is good, so the Falcons, on the strength of a 45-yard pass play from Chris Miller to Gene Lang, take the lead 7-0 first quarter action here in Atlanta. Chris Miller said last night he understood how important the running game was going to be today, but boy, did he want to get a deep one, and he got one that time, Gary. 4 plays, 72 yards, a minute 38, 45 yards to the 5th-year player from LSU, Gene Lang. Greg Davis will be kicking off for the Falcons. Back deep for the Packers, Woodside and Ron Pitts. And this will be Woodside taking it at the 11. And Woodside with room. Keith Woodside giving the Packers an excellent field position near the 35-yard line. Michael Haynes on the tackle.
Let's take a look at this replay. Mark Murphy, he's in a difficult position. Whether it's zone or man-to-man, it's speed against speed when you go deep. And Murphy has to make a decision. Do I go for the ball, as he does here, or do I swat it away and try to prevent the completion? It's a judgment call. He went for the ball, and instead the running back got it, and it cost him a touchdown.
What should you do as a defensive back?
Well, again, you know, you're in that position where you have to make a judgment whether or not you want to go for the ball or not. He made the decision he felt comfortable with, and instead he lost.
1st and 10 for the Packers at their own 37. Play action on 1st down. Going for Ed West. Incomplete. Majkowski was looking for the big tight end, Ed West, across the middle. And West looks like a linebacker.
Well, he's not tall. He's well built, and he's deceiving. When I was in a Bear uniform, we went against him a number of times, and you'd kind of say, look out for the wide receivers when they had Lofton and Epps and all that speed outside, and he would be able to work one-on-one against the linebacker as he did there. That time the ball just a little overthrown.
2nd and 10 in the backfield. Pollock Caruth, the lone back. Majkowski back to pass, looking for Philip Epps, and he overthrows him. So Don Majkowski, trying to get the arm loosened up, overthrows Philip Epps. And the Packers are having to operate without Walter Stanley in the wide receiving corps. You take a look at Andre Bruce.
Well, this is the #1 draft choice in the NFL. Came in. Uger does a good job pushing him outside, but the important thing is he's blitzing, and that's something he wants to do more of. He wants to have an impact on that passing game, getting some sacks like everybody else does.
He looked aggressive on that play, something he's been accused of not displaying throughout the year. 3rd and 10. 4 wideouts in for the Packers. Majkowski going up top, looking for Sharp. He's got it for the 1st down. So Sterling Sharp, the rookie out of South Carolina, comes up with the grab for the 1st down. Stopped by Charles Demery, a 19-yard pickup.
Well, to the right of your screen, Sterling Sharp, their #1 pick for the Packers, is working one-on-one. The other 3 receivers are on the other side of the field. He beats the rookie Demery, makes a nice move, and more importantly, he makes the catch. Talked to Infante, Coach Infante for the Packers, and he said, you know, Sterling dropped the ball last week, and sometimes young players have a tendency to lose their concentration.
1st and 10, ball at the 44 of Atlanta. Majkowski back to pass on 1st down, throws a screen to Pollock Caruth, and Caruth is down near 1st down territory. An 8 to 9 yard pickup on a part of Pollock Caruth. Michael Reed made the tackle.
When you go against Lindy Infante, you're going to see a lot of different formations. You're going to see the ball all over the field. He uses the entire width of the field and the depth of the field. He'll throw you deep. He'll get you short with these screen passes. That's the 3rd screen pass they've already thrown in the 1st quarter. You have to be constantly alert as a defensive player.
2nd and 1. And this is Woodside. And Woodside, did he lose the ball? The Atlanta players say he did. side. Coughs up the ball on the play. Tony Casillas looked to have recovered for Atlanta.
And again, he's wearing a shield, so these dark shields must be the key to the game. You know, if you have a dark shield, you're able to see where the ball is and pick it up.
Well, you seem to think that perhaps we may see some models with windshield wipers. We'll talk more about that in a minute.
If you look at this replay here, 70 Keith Euchre is blocking 76 Mike Gann. And Keith Woodside's going to cut back, and then Gann just flicks the ball right out of his arm. And then Casillas, number 75, was that shield on, picks it up, and they get a fumble recovery. The hole was there, and Woodside just a little careless with the ball.
1st and 10 at their own 34. Gene Lang in motion. And a reverse. This is Dixon. He's got the first down. And Floyd Dixon takes it across midfield to the 43-yard line. A 24-yard gain by the Falcons.
You run a reverse when you feel the defense is not staying at home, and this time it's clear that someone didn't stay at home, which opened up the entire left side of the field for Dixon. Gets some good blocking from Haynes, takes it in, and boy, he backs into the final few yards. Some razzle-dazzle, but it makes you think defensively you better stay at home here.
1st and 10 in Packer territory. 43 to be exact. Settle. Down to the 40. Runs into a mass of humanity. The Packers.
You know, the Packers played very well last week. Really only gave up 14 points by the defense. But that doesn't mean anything because the offense gave up 14 points, so they lost by 28. I think what they want to do, you know, some people accuse the Packers of playing kind of a vanilla defense, but the coaching staff from the Atlanta Falcons feel they're really going to be blitzing a lot and showing a lot of different looks.
Falcons on top, 7-0. First quarter action here. 2nd and 7. Miller back to pass. Throws a screen to Lang. And Lang across the 40 to about the 38-yard line. A pickup of about 2 before being tackled by Brian Noble.
Looks as though both offensive philosophies feel that the defenses are susceptible to the screen pass. You like to throw screen passes, one, when you have a lot of drop back zones, or if you think that you can cut off the man-to-man coverage with the inside linebacker who's usually responsible for the running back on a man-to-man coverage.
Four wide receivers in on 3rd and 5. Is going to be far short of the first down. As Green Bay diagnosed that one right that time. Blaze Winter in on the tackle.
Yeah, that one didn't quite work. You have the 4 wideouts. You figure if you can split everybody out, if you can punch through the front 4 or front 5 on the defensive line, you're home free for a big play.
Rick Donnelly into punt. That's Sterling Sharp deep for the Packers. Took a good little while to get that one home. And he hits at the 10. And the Atlanta special teams, specifically Jesse Tuggle, do a good job. Packers NFC Western Division race, a tight one there. Rams and the Saints all tied up, 7-2. 49ers only 1 game behind there. And the Rams leading Philadelphia early. That game in Philadelphia, 3-0 in the first quarter. And later today here on CBS, another big one, Saints and the Redskins. The Saints, of course, want to stay right in the thick of it. The Redskins can ill afford a loss. 1 game behind the New York Giants in the NFC East. 1st and 10 here, ball on the 10 of Green Bay. Woodside trying to spin, nowhere to run, nor high. Robert Moore and Michael Reed on the stop.
Michael Reed is a replacement for Marcus Cotton, who last week had a big game against the Philadelphia Eagles. But unfortunately, in the second quarter, even though he played the rest of the game, he said he hurt something in his knee and had to go have arthroscopic surgery. So the Falcons, who have lost a number of key players this year, continue one player a week, it seems, to have somebody go on the injury list.
Reed says he knows he's not the rusher that Cotton is, but he's smart and experienced. 2nd and 8 for the Packers. Packers trailing by 7 in the first quarter. On the ground again. And a good second effort. Didn't net very much. But Woodside running hard. Live from Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. Interdivision battle between the Green Bay Packers and the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons on top 7-0. A 45-yard strike from Chris Miller to Gene Lang, the scoring thus far. Along with Gary Fencik, I'm James Brown. And just under a minute left in the first quarter here. 3rd and 8. Packers in their flush package. 4 wide receivers. Majkowski going for Epps. And a good defensive play by Bobby Butler to get that hand in there. And I'm sure you appreciate that, Gary Fencik.
Not only that, he made a great break on the ball, but again, they blitzed number 41, Tim Gordon, and he's got a free run right at the quarterback. Majkowski's lucky to get the ball off, and Bobby Butler breaks it up. But they're having problems right now with the 3rd down scheme, the blocking scheme, to give Majkowski time to throw the ball.
Don Bracken into punt for the Packers. Back deep, Lou Evans. Make that Lou Barnes. And Bracken at the 45, and that's going to be it. So Lou Barnes didn't get a chance to show any of his fancy moves before Ron Pitts gets in on the tackle. A 38-yard punt by Don Bracken. No return by Lou Barnes.
Lulu last week had a 68-yard punt return against the Philadelphia Eagles. They finally found someone they think who can hold on to the ball, and Aubrey Matthews, who's now with the Packers, had 2 costly fumbles earlier in the season for the Falcons that they feel cost them games.
1st and 10 from the 45 of Green Bay. 30 seconds left in the quarter as Lang takes it straight ahead across the 40 to about the 39-yard line.
You know, this is really what they want to do. There's nothing fancy about the Falcon offense running attack. They're just going to go man for man and blow it up the middle. They really feel that they have such strength there with Ken and Scully and Yarno in for Radloff and Bill Fralick, an all-pro. And then they have a rookie, Houston Hoover, who's unlike most tackles. He doesn't have long arms. He isn't 6'7", 295 pounds. He isn't from Krypton, but he did a great job against Reggie White last week in Philadelphia. They have a lot of confidence in him.
Start of the second quarter here in Atlanta. Falcons on top by a touchdown, 7-0. Thanks to a 45-yard strike from Chris Miller to Gene Lang. Falcons have it 2nd and 4 here. Ball marked at the 39-yard line of Green Bay.
You know, take a look at that left arm for John Anderson. He's broken it 3 times. Looks like he has a barrel around his left arm. You don't think that's a war weapon to play football with?
2nd and 4. Settle. And little Settle goes straight ahead, driving toward the 35-yard line, a pickup of about 4.
Right now, Atlanta's doing exactly what they want to do. They're just running that ball, not taking a lot of chances, don't have to. Their defense is playing well, and their offense is controlling the tempo of this game.
New York City Marathon just completed for the men. Steve Jones of Great Britain and Greta Weiss, Norway, won it for the women. Talk about some folks in excellent shape, and Gary Fencik, you look like you can still get out there and play a little football as well as run a marathon. 3rd and 1 as the Falcons keep it on the ground. Did they have enough for the first down? Tim Harris of the Packers in on the tackle.
And it's not even close. Tim Harris broke through, made a big play, as he has all season long for the Green Bay Packers. Tim Harris, number 97, he's down in a 3-point stance. take a look here. Settle gets the ball. Harris breaks not one, but gets through two potential blockers. Uses his right arm just to bring him down, and that's a great play by a linebacker who's down in a three-point stance.
And this will be a 54-yard attempt by Greg Davis. And not enough. And the 54-yard attempt by Davis, player out of the Citadel, comes up short for the Falcons. So the Falcons still stay on top by a one-touchdown pad. 13:34 left in the first half here.
You know, those kickers, it's a rough life. As Max Dejas found out against the Packers, I was talking to his brother Luis in Philadelphia. He said everybody should just hold on to their apartments and switch off because everybody moves around the league so much. A couple bad days and you're gone.
First and 10 for the Packers. Ball at their own 37. And this is Sterling Sharp. And Sharp across the 40, hit hard by Jesse Tuggle. And Sharp shaking his head that time, wondering what the license plate of that truck was.
You know, he's a young rookie who's just having fun, and you see here he gets the ball. He wasn't too far away from the other lineman, and well-conceived play, and takes it inside, and well, he gets a good stick. And you know what? I saw him afterwards. He was just kind of smiling. He's just having fun out there, and that's what you should be having.
2nd and 5 for the Packers. Ball at their own 42. Majkowski to pass. Under pressure. And wisely hits the ground, but loses the ball. And somehow Green Bay miraculously comes up with the ball. Majkowski, talking to you last night, aware that he would have to hit the ground a little more these days, but not quite like that.
Well, one of the things a young quarterback has to learn to do is slide, and he puts a nice move on John Rady, number 59, but then Casillas gets a hold of him, strips him of the ball. Ball's right there for anybody. Scott Case tries to pick it up, and instead it falls under Carruth, and then looks like Woodside ended up with the ball at the end. Big opportunity for the Falcon defense, but they don't come up with the ball.
When all is said and done, it's 3rd and 3 for the Packers at their own 44. Shotgun left. Majkowski decides to run it himself. He's got the first down plus more and loses the ball again. And again, Green Bay comes up with the loose ball. Now, I don't think Lindy Infante has this in the game plan, Gary.
Tell you what, he keeps doing that, he's going to end up like Ditka in the hospital. This time he doesn't take long to make up his mind. I don't know if it was a quarterback draw designed this way, but you can see he has such great athletic ability. But again, you've got to hold on to that ball. He's stripped of it there by Moore, number 34, and boy, he's really lucky that time to hold on to the ball. But it's one of the things he does so well is that he gives you the ability to throw the ball, but also to get out of the pocket and make big plays.
Two very fortunate breaks for the Packers give them the ball at the 43 of Atlanta, 1st and 10. Majkowski back to pass, screens to Carruth. Flags on the play, and Carruth inside the 35, but penalty flags are everywhere.
Well, until you stop the screen play, they're going to keep running it.
Pass interference, number 33.
And 33 is Keith Woodside. That's the first penalty of the game. Comes at 10:57 of the 2nd quarter. Pretty clean ball game up to this point.
Pass interference is obviously a not very often called on the offense, usually on the defense. Keith Woodside must have initiated some contact blocking one of the people downfield trying to set up Carruth before he caught the ball.
That pushes the ball back into Green Bay territory. Ball marked at their own 47. Makes it 1st and 20. Woodside in motion. Majkowski looking for Woodside. Great play, batted down by Brett Clark, showing good athletic ability.
Brett Clark has 4 interceptions, tied for the lead in the NFC, but that time Majkowski really just panicked a little bit. He had time to throw the ball, and then he just made a bad decision because there were two defenders out there. And well, I tell you what, it's difficult to thread that type of needle. He's lucky that one wasn't intercepted, and it would have been if he dropped it down a little bit.
And that's where Brett Clark's height served him well. 6'3", 198. Guess who he's tied with for the lead in interceptions?
Chuck Cecil.
All right. Boy, DBs know that, do they not? 2nd and 20 from their own 47. Woodside in the slot. Majkowski looking to pass, and it's complete to the 45-yard line. Obviously well shy of what's needed for the first down. Woodside, the receiver that time.
You know, it's funny about Woodside. When we were speaking to him last night, he said, you know, I really bided my time and I really studied hard, and when I finally got in there because of some injuries, he said I was ready to go. And when I saw those 4 wide receivers going and a guy would drop the ball, he goes, I could do that. I know I can catch that ball. And well, I tell you what, he's excited. Willie Pete's excited for him. There is running back coach next to him. He's really going to be a good player in this Packer offense.
Like his attitude. He says he wants to be the leader of this offense. 3rd and 11. Majkowski going deep, and it's intercepted. Robert Moore picks off the pass intended for Perry Kemp. And Atlanta will take over with 9:34 remaining in the first half. Falcons lead it by a touchdown. Two franchises trying to build toward the future, establishing a winning way. Right now, the Falcons are on top by the score of 7-0 in the second quarter. And it was a 45-yard strike from Chris Miller to Gene Lang. That's the difference in the ball game right now. Green Bay 2 turnovers. And Gary, I guess a little strange to actually see a 2-7 team in the form of Atlanta feeling kind of confident, but they're showing it right now. Why?
They're showing a lot of poise right now. Their defense is not being confused by all the different fronts and coverages. And you take a look at from behind Majkowski here, and he never saw Moore, number 34. Moore had an easy interception, and that's one of the things that a young quarterback has to get used to, seeing a lot of different coverages.
And Atlanta keeping it on the ground. Pickup of about 2 on the play. John Settle, the ball carrier. So take a look at Chris Miller, very confident young man, second-year quarterback from Oregon, and it's really pretty evident the kind of confidence that the rookies and the veterans, the young players and the veterans alike, express in Chris Miller.
Absolutely no doubt about that. And without a good quarterback, you don't go anywhere.
2nd and 9 for the Falcons, ball at their own 30. Miller back to pass. And he's looking, decides to run it himself, and dives across the 35 to the 37-yard line. Pickup of 7, stopped by John Anderson. Quite an action-filled afternoon here on Sunday. Let's check in with Brent Musburger in New York for this NFL Today report.
James, the Minnesota Vikings have scored 2 touchdowns. They missed this extra point. Alfred Anderson going in. The Bears are down by a field goal, but they're threatening. The Vikings hoping to pick up a full game, so they're pulling for Tampa. Back to James.
And boy, many thought Minnesota would be playing a lot better than they are. They've made things a little difficult for themselves at points this year.
But they still have a chance, and they play the Bears on Monday night, the last game of the season.
3rd and 2 for the Falcons. And this is going to be shy. Gene Lang is going to be shy of the yardage needed for the first down.
And you can hear some of the boo birds that, quite frankly, there aren't a lot of birds here, period. Only about 30,000 people. And you know, you would never see a crowd like this in Green Bay, Wisconsin. They'd fill that stadium even when win or lose, they're going to be there.
More birds in the sky than here. And this is Sterling Sharp taking it at the 24-yard line, and he's going to be dropped. Tim Gordon doing an excellent job of getting downfield to stop Sterling Sharp. So the Packers will take over, 7:38 remaining in the second quarter here, and the flag has been thrown on the play.
12 men on the field.
Officials doing some good quick counting there.
I'll tell you what, you try to improve that punt return, and you can sneak a 12th man in, why not? That's how they got caught. Now, we once played a game against the LA Rams, and after one of the plays, a guy caught the ball, and we came in the huddle and said, who had that guy? No one would fess up to it. Next day, we found out they had 12 guys on the field. A lot easier to play football when you can sneak an extra guy in the field.
So you guys are waiting for the film session that Monday, huh?
Yeah, it wasn't going to be pretty, but we kind of had a chuckle after that.
Take a look at Lindy and Fonte. Getting to be a very popular coach in Green Bay. Very personable, good speaker, and the players love him.
You know, you have to make, that gave the Falcons a first down, so they still have the ball. A critical mistake by the special teams.
1st and 10 at their own 42 to be specific. Play action. Miller trying to get away from character. In and out of the arms. And Chris Miller looked as if he was almost out of danger. Floyd Dixon dropped the pass.
Again, Chris Miller getting some pressure. John Anderson blitzes. Carricker comes from the outside. They flush him out. Finds an open man, though. Keeps the poise. And unfortunately, his receiver just drops the ball. It bounces off his chest. And boy, when you miss him, then Murphy gives him an elbow in the head and wants to remind him, I'm always going to be around.
First incompletion today for Chris Miller. 4 of 5 for 70 yards. 2nd and 10 for the Falcons. Still at their own 42. On top by the score of 7-0. And Miller looking for Lang. He's got it. And Lang should have it for the first down. A 12-yard pass play from Chris Miller to Gene Lang, and Lang is playing well today.
Take a look at the right part of your screen. Tim Harris, number 97, and Brown are going to run an X stunt, and instead it doesn't work. They pick it up. Tim just can't quite keep his feet. Puts a little pressure on, but not enough to prevent the completion of the pass. And Mike Kent said that Robert Brown, number 93, gives that stunt away, so they're not going to be affected by it at all, they don't think, today.
Atlanta in Green Bay territory at the 45. Gene Lang at the bottom of your screen. Split right. Miller back to pass. Looking for Wisenhunt. He's got him for the first down. Inside the 25. John Anderson on the stop. Oh, Chris Miller finds Ken Wisenhunt with a 22-yard strike.
One of the keys to any passing game is having protection. And he has a very experienced offensive line. It's doing a great job of giving him the time to find the open receiver. Then he gets over the linebackers in the zone, completes the pass. You know, they're running the ball, but by running the ball successfully, it sets up the play action passes. And, you know, Chris Miller's very fortunate because he has some all-pros in Ken and Bill Fralick. He only has one rookie on that offensive line. And that can make a quarterback look real good, even if you're inexperienced, as Chris Miller is, only being in the second year.
Well, Chris Miller is looking real good in the first half, 6 of 7 for 105 yards. His Falcons are at the 23 of Green Bay. 1st and 10. Out of the pro set. Miller looking for Lang. He's got it. And Lang catches it near the 20-yard line. Tim Harris delivering a hard hit. And Harris is upset, frustrated with something over there.
Well, I think he wanted to get the fumble, and you know, he dropped back into his zone and they complete a pass. And even though it wasn't for a lot of yardage, Tim Harris is the type of guy, he doesn't want anything happening where he's at. You know, if he gets one more sack, he's going to have his career high. He has 7.5 going into this game, and they call him the Crane. And if you take a look at the wingspan, this guy's got some long arms. Plays somewhat an unorthodox style, but no matter who you play, they're all aware of how talented he is.
Haynes to the right. Milling on 2nd and 7. This is John Settle straight ahead. Settle across the 20 to about the 18-yard line. Brian Noble stopped the forward progress.
If you take a look at Tim Harris, sometimes he's down in a three-point stance. He's number 97 at the top for the Packers. This time, let's see, he's moving his arms. You think he's going to blitz, inching up towards the line of scrimmage. And again, an X stunt where the defensive end goes outside. He comes inside, plays over, but he keeps on going. And this time you see now he's down.
Trips right on 3rd and 5. Ball at the 18 of Green Bay. Miller lobbing it for Dixon. And a flag is thrown on a play. Intended receiver was Floyd Dixon. Mark Murphy on the coverage.
You know, you're going to have problems when you have a strong safety like Murphy covering a wide receiver.
Pass interference, number 37, first down.
You know, Mark Murphy's a talented, strong safety. But on 3rd down, when you're going man-to-man against a little itty-bitty wide receiver, and you see he has pretty good coverage on him, but he doesn't have a sense of where the ball is, and it's interference. Well, that's a judgment call because, again, he's right there, and you know, you worry about things. Everybody looks for mismatches, and if you're going to have him covering a wide receiver, you better be double teaming him.
1st and goal, ball at the 1 for Atlanta. Settle, steps across for the touchdown, no flag. The free agent from Appalachian State steps across for the 1-yard touchdown.
Take a look at the blocking. George Yarno, 66, blocks well. Fralick. You see he cuts back, though. He finds a little hole. That's all you need for a touchdown. Right now, obviously, the Atlanta Falcons are totally in control of this ball game.
John Settle, the man who says he runs scared. And Greg Davis is good on a point after, so the Atlanta Falcons, with 4:03 remaining in the first half, move out in front by the score of 14-0. John Settle's 5th touchdown of the year gives the Atlanta Falcons a 14-0 lead with 4:03 remaining, and John Settle went over to talk with that man, Gerald Riggs, to say, hey, how did you like the way I ran? And Keith Woodside decides to down it, touchback, so the Packers will start from their own 20. As Don Majkowski looking for something to get going positive for the Green Bay Packers. .358 left in the first half. Packers trailing by 14. Play action. Complete to Sharp at the 25-yard line. A pickup of 5.
I think right now all you have to do is be patient. If you're the Packers, you're a young team. You're only down 2 touchdowns. You got plenty of time to go in the game, and you know, that's one of the things. You start trying to hurry things. Like if Majkowski's having problems throwing, you start breaking off your patterns if you're a wide receiver and start taking away the synchronization that this Packer offense has to have to be successful.
You saw a shot of Brent Fullwood. There he is. He got poked in the eye a couple plays earlier. Vision slightly blurred, but we do expect him back. 2nd and 5 for the Packers at their own 25. Majkowski, complete across the middle to Woodside, and Woodside for the first down, spinning his way up near the 45-yard line. Brett Clark and Robert Moore in on the stop. A 19-yard pickup by Woodside.
Well, the Falcons went to a 4-man line, and then it was man-to-man coverage. Keith Woodside against Jesse Tuggle, and Tuggle tries for the ball. And boy, look at all his cute little moves he's got. Misses him there and picks up some good yardage. And boy, that's the type of back you want, who can run the ball, but also is an excellent pass receiver out of the backfield.
Woodside says his eyes get big when he sees a linebacker on him. Out of the I formation, 1st and 10, ball at their own 44. This is Woodside again. Running hard up the middle, pickup of about 2 to 3.
And it's interesting right now, the Falcons, who normally use a 3-4 alignment with 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers, have decided with a 2 touchdown lead that they're going to go to a 4-man front, anticipating a lot more passing by the Packer offense in an attempt to get back in the game.
2nd and 7 yards to go. 2nd and 7. Larry Mason, the lone back for the Packers. Ball at their own 47. And Majkowski holding it until the last possible second. Throws incomplete. Pressure applied that time by Greg Brown.
Well, that time he held onto the ball a long time, looking for a receiver to get open. Let's see whether or not any of them do. Patrick Scott in the slot, trying to get open. Scott Case, number 25, and you know, it really didn't look like anyone had a lot of separation there. That's going to be one of the problems too. You know, you got to have time to throw, but your receivers have to get open.
3rd and 7. Shotgun right. Majkowski. Intended receiver was Perry Kemp, and off his hands, incomplete. So the Packers, 3 and out. Don Bracken will come on to punt.
Robert Moore, number 34, almost had his 2nd interception of the day, and right now I think that they have to take a look. Infante has to go over and just kind of settle down his quarterback. It was not a bad throw.
This is Don Bracken. Back deep for the Falcons. Lou Barnes. And Bracken gets it off the side of his foot. It hits at the 25.
And all that doesn't mean anything, because once a Packer touches that ball, it's free. Even if the guy fumbles it, it goes right back to the Falcons.
Nothing ball game here in Atlanta. Falcons on top, 2nd quarter, 2:08 remaining in the first half. And Chicago leading Tampa Bay 7-3. Gary, you think the guys want to win one for the Gipper, Mike Ditka?
Well, he's watching the game, and I'm sure they don't want to add any more to the complications he suffered earlier this week. I think they are definitely trying to win one for him.
1st and 10 from the 28 for the Falcons. Lying in motion. Miller back to pass to John Settle. Settle across the 30. And John Settle knocked out of bounds at the 37-yard line by Chuck Cecil. And John Settle, as many of the players have said, really has a unique knack, Gary, for slipping tackles. Avoids getting hit straight on.
You know, he has quick feet. When you watch him, he gives you a little slight nod of the head in that, but he's open field runner. He's not giving you all these body fakes. He just has quick feet and deceptive speed, really. I think when you watch him going down the field, you can't believe that he's as quick as he is when you're a defensive back or a linebacker trying to tackle him.
That deceptive speed helped him to a 9-yard pickup on that play. 2nd and 1 for the Falcons. Michael Haynes in motion. This is Settle again. And John Settle near the 1st down marker. But we reached the 2-minute mark of the first half. Falcons lead it 14-0. Both teams coming off of impressive victories yesterday. Sets up a good matchup next week here on CBS Sports. Right now, we've got a good one here in Atlanta. Falcons on top, 14-0. Atlanta, 1st and 10 from their own 40. 1:56 remaining in the first half. Miller back to pass. He's got Lang at the 40 to about the 39-yard line, a pickup of 1. And Chris Miller burns off a timeout. He wants to come over and discuss things. His team enjoys a 14-point pad. Lindy Infante trying to come up with the right combination to get his Packers on the scoreboard. Right now, it's been an Atlanta offense that's been doing the number. The numbers right now, 2nd and 9 for the Falcons at their own 41. Miller back to pass. Going on the fly pattern to Floyd Dixon, and Dixon off of his fingertips.
Now you see Chris Miller, he led it a little bit too far to the outside, but they want to challenge these guys deep, and why not try to get another touchdown before the half. Floyd Dixon against number 2, Mark Lee, and you see he's got a step on him, and can't tell whether or not he would have been able to stay in bounds with that catch or not.
Chris Miller has had an absolutely excellent first half. 9 of 11 for 118 yards. 3rd and 9. Atlanta 0 for 4 third down conversions. And Miller having to run away from trouble. Tucks the ball in and dives at the 45-yard line. When all is said and done, a 4-yard pickup by Chris Miller.
Well, he was chased out of the pocket that time, and he was looking for somebody downfield, and then all of a sudden, you can see in the screen, number 97, Tim Harris is going to have him. He sees it, no, he's got to take it up, and Tim had to fall down trying to get him. Gave him a little stutter step, and all of a sudden, should I slide? I don't have anywhere to slide. I got to put my head down, and well, he's lucky he did, because Tiger Green and Chuck Cecil are doing some head hunting, looking for a free gift. Hit a quarterback, get $1.
Tim Harris,
they don't get anything for that. You don't want to get in trouble with the NFL, but when you can see a quarterback who's not sliding, it's like duck hunting out there.
Tim Harris wanted that tackle in the worst possible way. Don't forget, coming up at halftime, the NFL Today. Brent Irv and Dick Butkus with scores and highlights. And a feature piece on George Rogers, Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Young man from South Carolina who wants to get back in football right now is involved in real estate. That and more coming up at halftime. Back to punt on 4th down, Rick Donnelly, and Donnelly barely gets it away. A short one that takes an Atlanta roll inside the 15.
I'll tell you what, the Tiger Green came about as close as you can without getting a block kick, and I'm sure that if they don't solve that problem, he'll block one today.
A 42-yard punt as it winds up being.
You see Tiger Green, 23, the left of your screen, and boy, I'll tell you what, he went for the block, put his hand out, he was going to take it right off his foot, just missed it, but he got in there, and boy, you want to get so close, I'm sure at halftime he'll say, I can get there next time, and they better make some adjustments to make sure they block him.
And some adjustments, I'm certain, forthcoming for the Green Bay Packers as Don Majkowski trying his best. He's got 1:13 remaining in the first half to try to get the Packers on the scoreboard. Starting from their own 13 out of the shotgun. And Majkowski looking for Epps. No flags on the play. Elbert Shelley providing tight coverage.
Last week they were shut out 28-0 by Buffalo. They haven't scored a point today. Want to try to get something going, but play it smart. Don't get a turnover. Good coverage, really, but the ball, I don't know if it would have been catchable even if the defensive back hadn't been there. But you got to be careful. I'm sure Majkowski's very aware. He doesn't want to throw an interception at this point in the half.
2nd and 10 from the 13. Trips right. Play by the secondary of Atlanta, Scott Case. Intended receiver once again, Philip Epps.
Well, let's look at number 93, Andre Bruce. First pick in the draft. He's trying to just bull rush. Is he going to get to the quarterback? He's not. Good job. You got to learn some moves, and it's going to take him a while. He doesn't quit. That's the most important thing, but he's trying to have bull rush, and I'm sure he'll have some other moves as his career progresses.
Ken Rutgers did a good job of keeping him out. 3rd and 10. And Majkowski decides to run it again. And he slides this time for the first down. Seems to me like he listened to Gary Fencik last night. It was really interesting. You told him he was going to have to learn how to slide. Now, why were you telling him that?
Well, otherwise you get killed, and he was very aware of it too. And he said that that's something you do have to develop. How do you learn how to slide?
1st and 10 out of the shotgun. Majkowski under pressure. Will he get it away? Complete somehow to Perry Kemp. And Kemp is hammered near the first down marker. Great play by both Don Majkowski and Perry Kemp. Majkowski to get it away, Kemp to hold on to it.
See, Kemp, he wants to make sure that they know he's tough enough They call a timeout, try to get something going here. You look at Kemp, you know, his first name is Commodore Harry Kemp.
Why would somebody do that?
I don't know. Maybe his father was in the Navy or something, but you know, those wide receivers want to get a lot more balls thrown their way, and you see they're trying in the first half, but they didn't catch a lot of footballs last week. And when you're a wide receiver, you don't want to be downfield blocking all day. You want to get the football.
Giants storming past Dallas. Same case with Cincinnati there. 26 seconds remaining in the first half. Green Bay at their own 37, trying to at least get in the field goal range. Majkowski, 9 of 19 for 104 yards in the first half. And Lindy Infante hoping to put some points on the board before the end of the half.
James, if they're going to do that, they've got to go deep.
Majkowski. And this time, the run does not yield much yardage, only 3 to be exact.
Boy, they're going to run that play into the ground. That quarterback draw is a safe play, obviously. But when you keep running it, after a while, the defense is just going to have a guy, one of their defensive linemen or their linebackers, is just going to spy Majkowski. This is a design play. Majkowski gets the ball. He waits. He tries to invite the pass rush. And look, there's the hole. But, boy, Rick Bryan's right there. And Mike Reed, hey, they all know this guy's capable of doing it. So they don't pass rush quite as hard because somebody's got to be alert and say, look, we have to have a disciplined pass rush. We can't have a big lane open because this guy likes to run the ball more than almost he likes to throw it. But when you keep doing this, you know, not so much in this play, but when you keep running the ball, it takes you out of sync for your passing game, and the receivers stop believing that you're going to throw the ball downfield.
So Green Bay burned out their last timeout, 2nd and 7. 19 seconds remaining in the first half. Doesn't get it off and fumbles the ball. It's knocked loose. Atlanta recovers. Rick Bryan. Majkowski was waiting for some of his receivers, one at least, to open up. Instead, he saw a face full of red.
Well, there's not a lot you can do. Is he going to throw it deep because they have no timeouts left? He's looking for someone, but I think you got to take a chance. He reloads, and when he reloads, he doesn't have control of the football. And number 77, Rick Bryan, comes over, and with 9 seconds left, gives a great opportunity for the Atlanta Falcons to at least maybe get a field goal if they can get 10 or 20 yards on one pass play.
And give the credit to Tim Green, the third-year player from Syracuse, who caused that fumble. 9 seconds remaining. The Falcons take over at the 41 of Green Bay, and Atlanta decides to burn a 40-second timeout to discuss things.
Well, you have to decide now what you want to do. Do you try to go deep? You still have a timeout left. You can call a timeout if you're successful, or you want to try to milk it a little bit. You're probably only going to have one clear play and then go in for your field goal, and I think Chris Miller just wanted to make absolutely certain that everybody was on the same page as far as what you want to do.
Now, in your experience, how much yardage would you want to try to pick up quickly to get in the field goal range for Greg Davis?
Well, he probably can try a 50-yarder, so, you know, they're almost on the 40 right now, and you have to add 7. You know, the problem for the defense is that you don't want to play too tight because you might give up the 7 points deep. So you'd almost concede the 3 more than, you know, being vulnerable to the deep bomb.
And Davis missed a 54-yard attempt earlier. Out of the shotgun, trips right for the Falcons. 1st and 10 at the 41. Low snap. And Miller throws it to Settle, and Settle looking to get out of bounds at about the 35-yard line with 3 seconds remaining. So the Falcons took 6 seconds on that particular play.
Set up about a 52, 53-yard field goal. 52 if they're kicking from the 35.
And keep in mind that Davis attempted a 54-yarder. This will be a 52-yarder. It's up. Looks long enough. And it's good. So Greg Davis boots the Falcons to a high at the end of the first half. Atlanta leads it 17-0.
Okay, everybody to the scoreboard. The Eagles just have scored on the Rams, and now they lead it across 10-3. What about this one?
Well, I tell you, you have to really be impressed with the Eagles' performance today, Brent. They've been able to run the ball, control the clock, and I'll tell you, they look like division contenders today.
Let me show you a performance you've got to be very pleased with if you're a New York Giant fan. 26-0 over the Dallas Cowboys. Twice Sims has gone to Baker for touchdowns. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati and the Bengals 21-7 now. It is 7-3 New England over Miami. And Green Bay, of course, the game you're watching, trailing by 17 points in that one. Detroit and Minnesota, and the Vikes are up by a field goal, 13-10. Chicago leading Tampa Bay, 14-3 is the count there. And Dick, what about the Bears without Mike Ditka and Jim McMahon?
Well, Mike Tomczak's doing a good job. You know, usually he tries to drill that ball in there, but today he scrambled twice for big yardage and kept the drives going.
And the NFL today continues after these messages from your local stations.
Back here at halftime here in Atlanta, the Falcons enjoy a 17-0 lead over the Green Bay Packers. And Gary, obviously from a global standpoint, the most important statistic is that score at halftime, 17-0. But Green Bay statistically has not done a bad job. 171 total yards, Atlanta 192, but Green Bay has hurt itself elsewhere.
Well, the big keys so far in this game are the 3 turnovers that the Falcons have got off the Packer offense. They've converted that into 10 points, and really the Atlanta Falcons have played an error-free game so far in the first half. They've run the ball, they've passed it when they wanted to, and their defense has continued to come up with big plays as they did last week in Philadelphia.
And give Atlanta an awful lot of credit. Got started on the right note early on. Chris Miller said that he wanted to go deep, and that's exactly what he did when he found Gene Lang on a 45-yard strike.
Well, they got in a man-to-man situation where you have a running back going against a strong safety, and he laid it out perfectly for him, and then it's just a matter of, you know, who can get to the ball, and Mark Murphy, number 37, is right there, but he doesn't have a good view of the ball as the running back, Gene Lang, does, and it goes right through his arms for the first touchdown of the game.
And that got things started well for Atlanta. They went on to capitalize with additional scores from there. Give Greg Davis a lot of credit. Davis, that is, a lot of credit. He kicked a 52-yard field goal right before the halftime. That was the longest field goal ever in Atlanta history, tying Mick Luckhurst and Nick McMayer.
You know, again, the Atlanta Falcons have been snake bit earlier this year. They've lost some games in the last few minutes, and this game is by no means over. But right now, they clearly have control of the game. They've done what they want to do. Now, in the second half, you have to see what Green Bay is going to do, because certainly their defense has not played badly the last couple of weeks, but their offense hasn't scored a point now, and what they really need to do is get back in the game by scoring a touchdown, and then having plenty of time to get back into the ball game.
17-0 Atlanta. Second half about to get started in just a moment. CBS Sports coverage of NFL football will continue after this message and a word from your local station. Back here at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium for the start of the second half. Packers trailing by 17 to the Atlanta Falcons. Chris Miller looking awfully strong in Gary. The field goal, the 52-yarder by Greg Davis, certainly sent Atlanta into the locker room at halftime on a real high.
Well, this is the type of opportunity that if you make the most of it, as Davis does here, gives you that additional lift, and it gives you more than a 2-touchdown lead. And, well, you think that guy's not excited. You know, he's happy, and of course, that means that he'll be here at least another week. Now, he's had a good season, but, you know, all these kickers, they're moving around.
Now, you're always teasing me, having played for Harvard and butchering up names that are multi-syllabic. The other guy's name, I said Nick McMayer, which I guess phonetically is right, but that's not correct.
It's Mickemeyer, and that's okay, James. I know that people who go to Harvard aren't necessarily educated.
Keith Woodside taking it inside the 5 for the Packers. He's across the 20. Up near the 27-yard line, Keith Woodside hit hard that time, but a good return. Give the credit on the hit to Mike Weddington.
You know, if you're the Packer offense, I think with Majkowski I think you have to give him more time to throw, and you have to develop his confidence a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if they run the ball, but they go to shorter patterns so that, you know, he can develop a rhythm, which clearly the entire offense did not have in the first half.
Then the Infante, hoping his Packers get started a little better. Brent Fullwood, the lone back. And this is Fullwood. And Fullwood banging hard across the 30 to about the 31. Mike Gann on the stop for the Falcons.
One of the difficult things for a young linebacker like Andre Bruce and some of these other young people on the Falcon defense is that you've got a different formation to look at every time you come out of the box. And Andre Bruce has had some trouble adjusting to the NFL. Not that he won't be a great player, but boy, I'll tell you what, this can really mess up your mind.
2nd and 5 out of the pro set. And the handoff goes to Patrick Collins, and Collins gets back near the 30-yard line. John Rady on the stop.
Another young player. Let's take a look at John Rady, and he's coming out on 3rd down situation, but he's one of the leaders with Joel Williams, and they have the experienced linebackers on the inside, and they have the young bucks on the outside, and it's that blend of old and new that you try to get going to have a good defense.
No gain on the play. 3rd and 5. 4 wideouts in for the Packers. This is their flush package. Inside handoff to Caruth. And Caruth up near the 36-yard line. Not enough for the first down. Greg Brown on the stop.
Yeah, the Otter didn't quite slink his way for a first down that time. Again, they're trying to spread out that defense and then sneak somebody in. They were using a lot of quarterback draws in the first half. I think this half they'll kind of get away from that. It looks like the defense hip to that trick.
Lou Barnes back deep for the Falcons. Don Bracken to punt for the Packers. And he gets a good one away this time. And Barnes signals for the fair catch at the 25-yard line. A 40-yard punt by Don Bracken, the 4th-year player out of Michigan. Got some foot in that one.
Well, Marion Campbell must feel pretty good right now. You know, they had a big win last week against Philadelphia. Defense is playing well, the offense, but this team's been snake bitten many times this season. Losing in Dallas and losing in the last 2 minutes against New York Giants. And I doubt any head coach ever feels comfortable until they're in the locker room with the wind under their belt.
Haven't done well here at home. 0-4 this year. 1st and 10 from their own 25. Handoff to Settle. And Settle somehow gets across the 30-yard line to about the 31. A 6-yard carry by John Settle. Stopped by Mark Murphy.
Again, this guy must be invisible at times. He's going to go over to the right side. Number 44 takes it, cuts back a little bit. Defense over pursues, but again, knocks off one body. Murphy's in there, but not before he gets 4, 5, 6 yards. And when you can control the ball and get 6 yards on first down, you're having a good day offensively. It allows you to do a lot of other things.
Michael Haynes in motion on 2nd and 4 from the 31. This is Settle again. And Settle's got the first down. And big yardage pass. John Settle up near the 43-yard line. A 12-yard run. Johnny Holland on the tackle.
Well, he's got great blocking by Freilich, number 79. Houston Hoover on the top of your screen. They block down. They run the counter play that Washington Redskins have made famous. And he's got a lead blocker. Number 78, Mike Ken, seals, hits Holland, and boy, I tell you, you have that kind of blocking scheme with a big tackle leading you 5 yards down the line of scrimmage, and you want to run the ball all day long.
1st and 10, Lang dives ahead to the 45, gain of 2.
Now, I was talking to George Yarno, their center, number 66, and one of the few, if only, players to actually play high school football in Alaska. He said you had to move the season up because, boy, once it goes dark in Alaska, you don't see the sun for 6 months at a time. And he was telling me when he was with Tampa Bay, he played a game up in Green Bay, and it was snow blind. The only people you could see were the gold and green of the Green Bay Packers.
2nd and 8, ball at the 45. Miller looking for Dixon. Complete, overthrown is Mark Lee. took the opportunity to get a little shot in, and Dixon is still down on the turf as a result.
I'll tell you what, when you leave your wide receivers hanging, as Chris Miller did to Dixon right there, you can really lead to some injury, and he seriously got popped by number 22, Mark Lee, on that one. Clean hit, and we, of course, hope he's okay.
Well, thank goodness it looks like Floyd Dixon is okay as he's being attended to by the medical staff that is. And Gary, you've delivered a few of these hits in your day.
Well, you want to intimidate them if you can. You can see he shorts arms it a little bit, and Mark Lee, clean hit, lays him out, and Dave Brown saying, yeah, that's what we've got to do, and that's what this defense has to do, is start knocking some bodies around, making something happen.
And the Falcons attempt to make something happen on 3rd and 8. Ball from their own 45, out of the shotgun. 4 wide receivers in. This is their rocket package. And Miller pumps and throws incomplete. So that'll bring up a punting situation. Mike Haynes was the intended receiver. And the officials are having a discussion on the field here. I did not see a flag thrown.
You sound like a defensive back, James. We never see him thrown either, but suddenly they seem to come out of nowhere for a first down. There really seems to be some confusion what it is. Showed the illegal use of hands.
Illegal hands to the face, number 32, first down.
32 is David Brown.
Dave Brown's number 32. They call him Father Time, and you can see right there, gives a jam, but he hits it high. And when you hit someone like Michael Haynes like that, certainly I don't think it's intentional, but you're up there trying to jam him. Sometimes the guy lowers his head or lowers his body, and you inadvertently hit him in the head.
Update on Floyd Dixon. He will be taken into the locker room for x-rays of his cheek. You saw the helmet smash him there. 1st and 10, ball at midfield. Haynes in motion. Gene Lang, the ball carrier, and Lang running hard, but smacked hard by Johnny Holland and Brian Noble.
You know, next week the Green Bay Packers host the Indianapolis Colts. And when you see a team running on them, they're just thinking, boy, the Colts have got Eric Dickerson, and you know that they'll be running the ball next week. So, you know, teams steal plays, and any play that you see that's successful in the running game today by Atlanta Falcons, most likely they'll see the next week.
Gain of 5 on a play by Lang. 2nd and 5 for Atlanta. Ball at the 45 of Green Bay. This is Settle, and Settle is grabbed from behind by Tim Harris. And Harris using those long arms to advantage.
Look at, he's got all pads on his arms and around his wrist. Just needs one more sack to set his career high. He's got 7.5, and you know, when I watch Tim Harris play, I mean, he's not, you know, he's not like a big stud looking there, but I mean, he looks kind of a little unorthodox. Maybe he has 2 long arms or something, but he just lulls people into sleep, and he keeps getting these sacks and playing well, and you know, he should be recognized as one of the better linebackers in the NFC and certainly in the NFL.
Jesse Hester in motion on 3rd and 3. Miller back to pass, under pressure. Gets it away and overthrows the intended receiver, James Milling.
I got to laugh on that one. They put a receiver in motion, and they tried to block a little pee-wee receiver blitzing against Tim Harris, and Harris goes by him so fast, then they need a lineman to stop him. You can see if he had just thrown the ball a little lower, he would have hit it his intended receiver, James Milling, but Milling's only 5'9", weighs 156 pounds, so he's probably not used to hitting a little pee-wee guy like that.
Rick Donnelly into punt for the Falcons. Sterling Sharp back deep for the Packers. Donnelly gets a high one, and Sharp signals for the fair catch. And he does at the 12-yard line. And a flag is thrown on the play as we've got some action going on the far side of the field.
I mean, Chuck Cecil, number 26, he was doing undercuts on that one. And now he's, well, that's because he wasn't punching Andre Bruce. He was smarter than that.
Well, Vincent Smith was a linebacker involved in that action as well, just called up. Reclaimed off of waivers to replace Sylvester Stamps, who was put on the injured reserve.
This guy's a sticker. You know, I like him a lot. He's a rookie out of Arizona, and I know they call him Little Fenster and a lot of other nicknames, but one thing everybody knows is that this guy can stick.
Out of the game. Unsportsmanlike, number 26, out of the game. Offsetting, first down.
Well, Chuck Cecil and Vincent Smith have been thrown out of the game for that little altercation there. Atlanta leads, though, 17-0. Georgia and Auburn, both with impressive victories yesterday, both in the hunt for the SEC title and a Sugar Bowl bid. They'll meet next week. Titanic matchup right here on CBS Sports, coming your way at 2:30 Eastern time. And here's the fight we just witnessed. And Gary, you can't allow a guy to take advantage of you. So was Cecil wrong in battling back with Vincent?
Watch Cecil, he's using undercuts. He's getting his money's worth. He's going to get thrown out, and Smith's going back, and he's out of the game, and he just joined the team, and he's going to get a pink slip and find out just how expensive that fight is.
1st and 10 from their own 12. Packers trailing by 17. Patrick Collins in motion. Majkowski going up top, and it's complete to Sharp for the first down. So Sterling Sharp outmaneuvers Scott Case for the first down.
You know, you're talking about that fight. You know, it's great to try to establish something. He's a rookie, and I'm not going to take this and that. But the motto for defensive backs is you don't get mad, you get even. You pick another time during the game when the guy's not looking, and you put your helmet right in his ear hole.
And I found it interesting that most of the players will see you now ask if you still have your needle and thread with you to sew up some of the heads you've knocked off in your day. 1st and 10 for the Packers at their own 26. 9:09 remaining in the third quarter. Majkowski. And penalty flags are thrown on the play. Action is stopped.
Holding, number 75.
And that goes against Green Bay's Ken Rutgers. That'll push the Packers back.
Now you feel bad for those offensive linemen. You never hear about them until they get a holding call. And you know, Ken, you can see that left shoulder. He's got that harness on. Studying for a master's in business out in California in the off-season. You know, it just seems like USC continues to put out these huge offensive linemen.
He and a few of his partners along that offensive line also have been studying the martial arts in the offseason. Right now they've got to fight themselves out of this hole. 1st and 20 at their own 16. Penalty flag on the play as Brent Fullwood runs for a big yardage up near the 25-yard line. Brett Clark on the tackle.
Looked like Majkowski drew them off sides.
And the preliminary signal goes against the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, Majkowski's just looking over the sideline. He didn't know what he was going to call yet. Got to look at Infante.
Offside, number 75. Decline. 2nd down.
Tony Casillas, the guilty party. From their own 26, 2nd and 10. Collins in motion. Majkowski looking for Sharp, complete, and he loses it. He had it for a second and then dropped it. Sterling Sharp going high for the pass. Scott Case applying the hit.
One of the things that a rookie or any wide receiver has to do is concentrate on the ball, and it looks like it's man-to-man coverage, and he's wide open. The ball's a little high, goes up nicely for it, and doesn't quite look it in, or maybe there's just a little too much zip on that ball. But he's disappointed, as any receiver is. You want to get that ball, and look at Scott Case. Last week I mentioned that he was wearing a towel, and he didn't know why he's wearing it. Today he's not wearing one.
3rd and 10 from the 26. Out of the shotgun. And Majkowski throwing for Sharp again. Incomplete. Tim Gordon was right there with him. And Majkowski has to pick himself off of the turf.
Well, they're making it difficult for the offense to get any continuity in the second half. When you continue to put yourself in 3rd and long situations, you allow them to really, defensive linemen have their ears pinned back and they're just going for the sack. Majkowski's receivers are not getting open.
Wynn might just see Randy Wright, who's able to play today. This is Bracken into punt for the Packers. Lou Barnes back deep for the Falcons. And not a very good punt, but it takes a little bit of a Packer roll. It nets out, so a 29-yard punt. Talk about durable, long-time center Jeff Van Note for the Atlanta Falcons to the left.
And
the broadcast moves up there with the beard.
Yeah, to the right. That guy with the old
to the left
beard.
of the announcer.
Yeah, he just retired a couple years ago and went a lot of years against that old man.
1st and 10. Ball at the 45 for the Falcons. On top, 17-0. Miller has Wisenhunt for the first down. And he loses the ball, and Green Bay recovers. Ken steals. So a big pass play for the Falcons into Green Bay territory. Nullified.
This time, number 45, Ken Wisenhunt, makes a nice move, gets open, and now he's just lumbering for yards, and he gets stuck. Just really doesn't even get hit that bad. But the missile, number 29, Ken Stills, makes a big play, big opportunity for the Green Bay Packers. You know, sometimes you have to watch your own guys, and watch Tim Harris, number 97. He's chasing Wisenhunt, and here comes Mark Lee, and whoa, look out! Oh, and then Johnny Holland comes in and strips the ball, and Stills comes up with the interception, or I mean the fumble recovery, and just goes to show you, man, it's dangerous out there, and it's not only the other color that's sometimes getting you.
Sometimes the little guy wants to smack a big guy for being clumsy. 1st and 10. Ball at the 35 for Green Bay. Majkowski looking for Kemp. He's got him. And Perry Kemp with the first down yardage plus. Bobby Butler runs him out of bounds.
You get the feeling that those cornerbacks are really laying off, and either wide receiver right now can just run a down and out pattern, and there's nobody underneath. Sharp did it last series. Kemp did it this series. You know, there are holes in this zone, and I think it's just a matter of Majkowski being patient, and that offensive line has to give him time to find the open receiver.
1st and 10, ball at midfield. 8:21 remaining in the third. Packers trailing by 17. Play action. And the ball is tipped. Rick Bryant.
Now, we really haven't talked enough about this front three for the Atlanta Falcons, but Rick Bryant and Casillas and Mike Gann, they've really been putting a lot of pressure on. Take a look at Bryant. He thinks it's a screen. He's spinning or something. He spins and he just jumps up and bats that ball up in the air, and Ed West, number 86, falls down, and whoa, that would have been a nice run for an interception and a touchdown if it had gone to the cornerback.
2nd and 10. From midfield. Complete to West, and West has got the first down. So Don Majkowski finds big tight end Ed West with a 12-yard connection.
See what kind of job the offensive line's doing here. You've got 3 people, and you see Bruce, the linebacker. It's just a 3-man rush, and then Bruce comes in late, goes inside, and Euchre, Rutgers, those guys give him time, and he also has the visibility in front of him so he can see the open receiver.
Packers in Falcons territory at the 38, 1st and 10. Fullwood. And Fullwood gets to the 35, a 3-yard gain wrapped up by Rick Bryant. 17-0 ball game here in Atlanta. Falcons on top. Coming to you from Atlanta, Fulton County Stadium. Along with Gary Fencik, I'm James Brown. And it's been the first half action of the Falcons that have them enjoying this lead. Turnovers. The story against Green Bay in the first half. Don Majkowski trying to get the Packers on the board. 2nd and 7. Out of the pro set. Majkowski going across the middle. Intended receiver was Keith Woodside, but yet another pass. Batted down.
I'll tell you what, that time they sent the backers. They blitzed them. Somebody got their hand up and blocked it down. Looking for the end zone. 59 and 58, both inside linebackers blitz. And Majkowski sees the heat with Bryant coming. And Rick Bryant tips yet another ball. The second one in this series alone. You know, he said in his bio, he says, I enjoy a lot of things, hunting and fishing, and I enjoy Reggie White's pass rush ability.
On 3rd and 7. Shotgun right. Under pressure. And gets it away right before Jesse Tuggle applied the hit. So Majkowski, who ran for his life all over Western New York last week against the Buffalo Bills, doing likewise down south.
And he's having a real problem, or I should say his offensive line is having problem picking up the blitz schemes on 3rd down against the Falcon defense. And Majkowski is still in the game, and it looks as though they're going to go for it on 4th down.
On 4th and 7 from the 35 of the Falcons.
And the Falcons call a timeout. Bobby Butler, number 23, ran over to the side judge and called timeout. And obviously, Falcons didn't like the defense that they were in. And you know why they didn't? Because they only had 10 guys in the ball game, and here comes Casillas to make it 11. Heads up play by the defense to at least know that they're missing a guy. And really tough to play defense when you're short a guy. A lot easier if you have an extra man and you get away with it, but boy, real tough. That pass rush just doesn't seem to be there when you're missing a man up front.
In any sport.
Especially a guy as big as Tony Casillas.
Next Sunday on CBS Sports, some of you will see the early game, Tampa Bay against Detroit, or the New Orleans Saints and the LA Rams. NFC West Division battle there. And it all gets started with the NFL today at 12:30 Eastern Time. Right here, 4th and 7. Packers trailing by 17. 6:44 remaining in the 3rd. Nearly intercepted by Scott Case. So the Atlanta defense holds.
That was a great job that time. A breakup by Case, number 25. You see he has protection there, but Kemp is not getting away from Case. He doesn't buy the move, and Kemp goes for the ball even better than Perry Kemp does. But Case goes for it. Could have had an interception there. And right now, if you're in the secondary, you're just the defense, you feel real confident right now if you're with the Falcons. They've got control. The wide receivers are not getting open for the Green Bay Packers.
1st and 10 for Atlanta at their own 35. They keep it on the ground. Gene Lang, the ball carrier. Alfonso Carrico on the stop.
You know, a little frustrating. That's what the Chicago Bears, we used to say, okay, in the huddle defensively, we want to get 3 and out. And right now, I think some of those Packer guys on the defense must be wondering whether or not the offense is saying the same thing. They can't put any points on the board, and you know, you're down by 17 points. And defensively, you guys say, hey, we got to make something happen and give them good field position, or we got to score on our own.
No gain on the play. 2nd and 10. Miller back to pass. Going up top, looking for Haynes. Overthrows him. Haynes had a step on the defender.
And again, that time, Chris Miller got excellent protection. That time they took Tim Harris, and he was moving around the line of scrimmage, trying to go wherever he wanted to go. And, you know, this is a veteran offensive line. They just brought in Jamie Duke. Scully might have gotten hurt. Yarno comes in and blocks, and you know, he has time to throw, and that's one of the things Majkowski really hasn't had a lot of time to throw consistently through this ball game.
Atlanta 0 for 6 on third down conversions. This is 3rd and 10 from their own 35. Low snap. Flag on a play. And intercepted by Ken Stills. Now there is a flag on a play. Let's see if it stands. Chris Miller was throwing in the direction of Jesse Hester. But Ken Stills read it perfectly.
We have 12 men on defense. 5 yards, third down.
Boy, Atlanta gets a break there. You just talked about having not enough men on the field.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's, you know, if you have 10, it's tough, but if you have 12, somebody better be real quick at the end of the play. And Ken Stills made a nice interception. He made one last week, but boy, you hate getting an interception and not having it counted. The last series, he made a fumble recovery. Stills in a battle with Chuck Cecil, who was kicked out of the game for that starting berth. And I talked to Dick Duran, their defensive back coach, and he said, I'm keeping Stills in there because I have confidence in him. He has 3.5 years of experience back there, and he's a good athlete, and he showed it there.
He thought he had his 4th interception of the year. 3rd and 5 from the 40. 5:42 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Miller going for Haynes. Thought he might be able to burn Stills this time. No good. We'll bring up 4th and 5. Rick Donnelly will come on to punt for the Falcons.
You know, they're showing a lot of blitz and moving around the line of scrimmage. Feels he might have a break and not have a free safety, but Stills did a good job of disguising the coverage, getting back, providing help. All the other guys looked as though they were man-to-man coverage underneath.
Sterling Sharp, the 3rd punt returner for the Packers this season. Walter Stanley and Norman Johnson both on injured reserve. And Donnelly gets away a good one. Inside the 15, Sharp starts. Across the 20 to the 21. About a 7-yard return. 46-yard punt by Rick Donnelly.
You know, look at Sterling Sharp. He's smiling. Kind of reminds me of some other guys in the league who smiled for a while. And speaking of guys who smiled for a lot of years, Jeff Van Note, the far right of your screen, and I once was playing Atlanta and went in on a safety blitz, and Jeff, who I've known for a lot of years, got a hold of me and put me 10 yards downfield. He was laughing all the way. I've got you, I've got you. And then he slammed me into the ground. He says, thanks a lot. This is going to look great on film tomorrow. Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Really appreciated that.
He looks like he's still strong. 1st and 10 from the 21. Woodside trying to turn the corner. And does at the last second.
Yeah, he bounced it out, but he just didn't have anywhere to go. And you know, I always look at Green Bay. They got like the all-towel team. Everybody on that team has to wear towels. He's got one. Their wide receivers have them. You never see a towel at linemen, of course, because they don't want anybody to hold them, have something to hold on to.
But what I found
even West
interesting,
86 had a towel, you know? I can't see how you can possibly wipe, you know, you got gloves on. What are you going to wipe off when you got a towel?
2nd and 9 from the 22. And Majkowski under pressure. Andre Bruce behind him. And Majkowski slides to the 27-yard line, a pickup of 5 on the slide by Majkowski.
You know, one of the things we were talking to him about, and Chris Miller, the quarterback for the Falcons, is the idea of sliding. It's, you know, you got to decide when you're going to run and put your head down and when you're going to decide to slide. And Chris Miller said, you think that sliding's so easy? I slid in San Francisco and I still have the scars to show it. You see here, Andre Bruce almost has them, and well, you get smarter. He decides, hey, you know, live to fight another day before some headhunter gets.
3rd and 4 from the 27. Shotgun right for the Packers. And it's incomplete. No flag on the play. That man, Scott Case, again with the coverage. Albert Bell, the intended receiver.
think it was Aubrey Matthews because Albert Bell is gone. But Aubrey Matthews, who went against Scott Case because they were teammates for a number of years, man-to-man coverage, and that time Scott Case clearly won.
So Atlanta will start at their own 29, a 44-yard punt for an NFL Today update. Let's check in New York with Brent Musburger.
4-1 for the Philadelphia Eagles against the Los Angeles Rams. James Cunningham off of fakes got Byers open down the middle. He hits him. Touchdown Philadelphia. And the Eagles lead the Rams by 7. Back to James.
17-0 ball game here in Atlanta. Falcons on top. 4:16 remaining in the third. 1st and 10 from their own 29. Haynes in motion. This is Lang, the ball carrier. And Lang, with good second effort, gets up near the 35-yard line. 6-yard run by Gene Lang.
You know, Gene is a good running back. Was with Denver last year, and when you look at the number of good running backs that this team has lost, and still averaging over 100 yards a game. I mean, Settle was a free agent. Kenny Flowers was injured earlier. Briggs has missed a lot of the season. You see Scully there on the sideline. Looks like he has a neck injury, although obviously not too serious, and Jamie Dukes replaces him.
Haynes in motion on 2nd and 4. Settle. Slipping and sliding. He's got the first down, plus more. John Settle.
And, you know, you put it perfectly. He's slipping and sliding. There's not great body fakes. There's subtle gestures, but they just, you know, it's a counter play. Mike Ken 78, and again they've gotten outside, and the missile, number 29, misses a tackle, overcommits, and he just slides behind some blockers and gets extra yardage.
And Settle, who took over in week 5 for the injured Gerald Riggs, now has over 1,000 total yards. 1,007 to be exact. 1st and 10 from the 45 of the Falcons. This is Settle again. And Settle up near the 47, 48-yard line, 3-yard gain. Brian Noble and Tim Harris on the stop.
You know, Lindy Infante, I don't know if the key to success is on that card, but Hank Bulla is having trouble with the defense, and that offense has really struggled now for the last several weeks, and they were shut out against Buffalo 28-0, and, you know, he has a lot of confidence that things will happen here, but, you know, you've got to get some points on the board, and, of course, that's just the clear, obvious thing that has to happen to get back in the game.
Settle credited with 2 yards on the run, 2nd and 8. Penalty flags stop the play.
Mike Ken, number 78, pulled out a little early. Should be 5 yards against
78, 2nd down.
I'm going to say something good against Mike Ken, even though the penalty was against him. You know, Mike has been a friend of mine for a number of years, and you can see the far left, number 78, is the left tackle, and they're going to run a counter play again, and leaves a little bit too early. He's 2nd in games started behind Jeff Van Note, but he's going to have to get an old gray beard to play as many games as Van Note, because Van Note was there forever.
2nd and 13 from the 42 of the Falcons. Miller back to pass. Screens it to Gene Lang. Slips 1 tackle. And a second. A gain of only 3 on the play. Sean Patterson on the tackle.
Yeah, you say only 3, but that reminds me of Walter Payton used to have some of the greatest 1-yard runs I've ever seen in my life. Gene Lang, it just slips outside here, and Johnny Holland comes up and is going to lay him out, gives him a little move, and he jumps inside, and Noble almost breaks his knees on that one, and a lot of guys missing tackles.
6 catches, 67 yards on a day for Gene Lang. 3rd and 10. The shotgun. And Miller under pressure. carries it. Stopped by John Settle.
Well, the Murph has been picked on today, but he came up with a big play here. Number 37 is playing, looks like man-to-man coverage. Maybe it's just zone. I'm not certain on this one, but more importantly, he comes across, reads the eyes of the quarterback, makes a nice interception, fighting for a little extra yard. They didn't buy that fake, though. You don't see Settle. He's a running back. He says, I know all those fakes because, Murph, I give them to you. So he didn't buy it, and he made the tackle. But big play by number 37, Mark Murphy.
Green Bay will try to do something with it. 35 seconds remaining in the third. Trailing by 17. Majkowski on first down. Complete to Kemp. And Kemp is down to the 35-yard line of Atlanta. A 19-yard pass play from Majkowski to Perry Kemp.
You see somebody took his towel. He had to go back and get it on that one. Hey, those are like scalps. You know, you like to pull them off, and usually they try to tie him down so you can't get him. See, he's probably coming out of the game just to retie his towel. You know,
yeah, but no one has hands like yourself, Gary Fencik. You were trying to describe to us last night how to snatch a towel off of a player, and he ripped the pants of our Spider. He wants to be on the field. That's the end of the third quarter with the score, Atlanta 17, Green Bay nothing. We now pause for a word from your local station. On a fall afternoon here in Georgia, the Atlanta Falcons fans have something to cheer about. Atlanta on top 17-0. Start of the fourth quarter of play. Packers, 1st and 10. Ball at the 35 of the Falcons. Scott in motion. Play action. Woodside. Nowhere. Still a lot of action going on around the country. Let's check in with Brent Musburger, see what's going on.
Well, James, Vinny Testaverde trying to rally the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Maybe too late. They were down 28-3. Great read and a terrific catch by Hill right now. And it's 28-10. Bears still leading. Back to James.
All right, Brandon, I guess Mike Ditka has to be a little pleased with what he's seen so far, Gary.
Well, they let him watch the game, and hopefully there haven't been too many anxious moments for him.
2nd and 12. Ball marked at the 37 of Atlanta. Majkowski back to pass. And it's intercepted. Intended receiver was Clint Didier. And Tim Gordon, who's had himself a fine day, comes away with the pick. And Gary, with that interception thrown by Majkowski, and you can answer after this replay, might we see Randy Wright?
Well, Tim Gordon's number 41 at the top of your screen. He's covering 80, Clint Didier. And boy, that's just a poorly thrown football. Didn't have a chance of completing that pass. And, you know, I think Randy Wright may get some action in this game. Majkowski just seems to be he's hurrying himself a little bit, I think, today. And, you know, he's got a lot of gifts, a lot of talent. But sometimes a young quarterback puts too much pressure on himself.
1st and 10 for the Falcons from their own 28. This is John Settle, and Settle running hard for the first down.
Take a look at Randy Wright. He's trying to explain to him what he saw from the sideline. And, you know, a couple of weeks ago I was talking to Tommy Kramer, and he said when you come in as a backup, it's so much easier to see things happen and develop from the sideline than it is when you're out on the field. You get in there and all of a sudden you got guys in your face and you feel this pressure coming on by the oncoming rush. A lot easier when you just have your jacket on and the visor on and you're taking a look there. You got an injured player, Johnny Holland.
Well, coming into today's game, Don Majkowski has thrown only 3 interceptions in 143 passing attempts. He's thrown 2 today. And Lindy Infante said if things were not going very well, he would not hesitate to bring on Randy Wright. We'll see if that materializes here in the fourth quarter. As Holland gets up and moves around, thankfully. 13:43 remaining in the game. Atlanta on top by 17, shutting out the Packers. 1st and 10 from their own 39. Settle. And Settle across the 40 to about the 43-yard line. Pickup of about 4.
All they do want to do right now, they've got 1 quarter to go, 17-point lead. They're not going to take a lot of chances. They're going to hope that that offensive line continues to dominate the game, hand the ball, eat the clock, and walk away with another victory.
Settle, 17 carries for 66 yards. 2nd and 7. Haynes in motion. Lang, the ball carry, and Lang across midfield for the first down, plus a couple.
We're talking about Majkowski. He's a second-year quarterback, and you've got Miller. He's a second-year guy, and you take a look at what an impact the second-year quarterbacks have had in the league. You've got Testaverde, who leads the league going into today with 22 interceptions. Mark Rippon over at Washington's had a great season, really. Just traded away Schrader for him. Not for him, but so they could get more playing time. Berline, who now is playing for Schrader out in LA, so I guess wherever Schrader goes, he's replaced by a second-year QB.
John Settle, the lone back. Gene Lang limped off the field on that last play. We'll check his status. 1st and 10 from the 49. This is Settle. And Settle running for yet another first down. He's near the first down marker. Ken Steele's on the stop. Boy, this John Settle is some kind of runner. 18 carries for 76 yards.
I talked to the offensive line coach for the Falcons, Jim Hannafin. He said, if you split out a guy and you go to one-back set, it all becomes one-on-one blocking. And so far today, that offensive line has controlled the line of scrimmage. They feel they use one-back sets. They can continue to do so because not only can you go inside, but then you can also bounce outside without having that strong safety there to make the tackle.
2nd and less than a yard for the first down for Atlanta. 9.5 on the run that time by Settle. And he'll get the call again. And John Settle should have more than enough for the first down. Tim Harris tackling Settle.
Tim Harris has been all over the field, as he has been all season. And right now, they know in that huddle, they're going, hey guys, we got to make something happen. Otherwise, the result is somewhat inevitable. Not a lot of fun when the team starts moving on you, especially when they're running on you, because they start to wear you down physically.
1st and 10 out of the I formation. Play action. So Lang shook off the slight ankle injury, comes right back to take the screen pass and gives the Falcons another first down.
Now take a look at that. He's got the visor on. He's got that mouthpiece that you just kind of bite into. He does look kind of like a future man, doesn't he? He's into the future. And, you know, they only have, it's a shame, they only have 30,000 people at this game. And today in the Atlanta Journal, the lead story for the Atlanta Falcons was on page 23. That's really hard to believe.
Players know they've got to win. Hester and Haynes split right. Gene Lang in motion. Settle the ball carry. And Settle doesn't gain much on this play. Mark Murphy with the solid tackle. 5'9", 207. Second-year free agent out of Appalachian State.
You know, we talked to him and he said he runs scared, but I think he's starting to scare a lot of people who have to try to tackle him, because he does have that low center of gravity. You mentioned he's not real tall, but he has quick feet. And I think the biggest asset he has is that people don't believe he's as fast as he is.
2nd and 9 for the Falcons at the Packers 24. Complete to Settle, and Settle hit hard by Brian Noble.
And I think he felt that one. Yeah, you gotta lift that left shoulder up a little bit and kind of rearrange the body parts, shake your head a little bit. And Brian Noble gave him quite a lick that time.
Gain of 3 on the play.
You watch, they rush him out of the pocket. You can see Brian Noble, number 91, and he sees it's coming and lower that shoulder way a bit more than the other guy and sends him stumbling.
6. 4 wide receivers in. Lone running back is settled. Low snap. And Miller going up top for Hester. And it's incomplete. Good defensive coverage by Ken Stills, who had his hands on the pass.
There's the plight of your quarterback. Kind of bending over, he's a little sore and shaking it off. And, you know, he's had ankle problems. He's had a hip pointer. Rearrange that helmet a little bit because, boy, when they come in and stick you, you know, you're not wearing much padding. You're wearing some very small little shoulder pads. And he's missed a lot of games. A lot of quarterbacks have gone out this NFL season.
This will be a 39-yard attempt for Greg Davis. He makes a 52-yarder and misses this one. So Davis wondering what gives. But Atlanta still enjoys a 17-point lead. Marion Campbell has a lot to be pleased about. His Falcons lead 17-0 with 8 minutes remaining in the game, and it's been the battle of the second-year quarterbacks. Well, it's been all Chris Miller so far. Green Bay hurt by turnovers. Not a good afternoon for Don Majkowski.
Well, he's really been pressured a lot. His offensive line has given him some time, but again, he's a young quarterback. Sometimes you have a tendency to get out of that pocket a little too quickly, but I think really the key are the turnovers. They've just given too many free points to the Atlanta Falcons today.
At what point does Lindy Infante consider possibly going to Randy Wright, or do you do that?
Well, he said he'd consider it, but I'm not really sure he wants to blame this game on Majkowski. He certainly doesn't. So I think he'll keep him in there until he really feels he doesn't have it going at all today because of the lack of protection or just problems that he has picking up people downfield.
Take a look at Lindy Infante, and while Gary and I were on camera talking about whether or not Randy Wright comes on, well, indeed he does. So Lindy Infante wants to see if Randy Wright can get the Packers moving with 8:39 remaining in the game. 1st and 10 from their own 22, and it's complete to Sterling Sharp. So Wright connects with his first pass attempt for a 1st down, finding the rookie Sterling Sharp.
You know, one thing a veteran quarterback gives you is a sense of stability. Completed his first pass, and again, Majkowski just had a rough day, but they haven't scored points now in 2 weeks. So you want to just try something, you know, maybe a more mature quarterback will just give him a different sense of a flow of a game.
Randy Wright hasn't played since October the 2nd of this season. 1st and 10 from his own 35. Wright back to pass. Screens to Caruth. And Caruth takes it up to about the 37-yard line.
You know, the one game that Randy Wright, the last game he played, was that Tampa Bay game, and he played great. But when Majkowski came in, he did so well. And, you know, James, we did the Minnesota game. They beat them and really handled them easily. And then they did well against Washington. Really fell apart a little bit against the Buffalo Bills. But, you know, you can't blame any quarterback on that. It's just kind of a team effort loss.
Gain of 1 on the play, 2nd and 9. And Wright throws an interception. Scott Case. And Case has been on the case all afternoon, no matter who the quarterback.
Scott Case has had an excellent game. You see number 25 there. He's covering Ed West. Undercuts him. Anticipates the play, makes a nice interception. Now he's trying to fight for yards. And see, if he had a towel, he probably would have gone down easier. But last week he was wearing a towel. This week he's not. You know, he said in the paper yesterday that it's hard to feel like a home team when you get booed coming out of the dressing room. But I think today these fans are maybe developing a renewed sense of enthusiasm and confidence that this team is coming out of the slump they've had for the last few years.
5th Green Bay turnover gives the ball to Atlanta. 1st and 10 at the Green Bay 35. Screen to Settle. Settle across the 30 inside the 25-yard line for the 1st down plus a couple. Under 7 minutes remaining in the game. Atlanta on top by 17 and marching.
You know, again, Tim Harris blitzes. Settle gets it again. Look, not a lot of upper body moves. More importantly, covers that football, makes sure he's not going to fumble it as they get an opportunity to score.
4 catches for 30 yards today for John Settle. And he's got 81 rushing yards. Very productive day for John Settle. And the Falcons threatening at the 23 of Green Bay. This is Lang. And Lang goes inside the 20 to about the 19-yard line.
Not easy to play defense right now. It doesn't look as though your offense is going to get it going. And Marion Campbell, this is probably one of the more relaxed games he's had. I don't think a head coach has ever relaxed. But his defense has really played well today. Played well against Philadelphia last week. And, you know, they don't feel they're a 2-7 team. They've really had some opportunities. And if you look at the rest of their schedule, they really feel they can get on a roll in the next month or so. In the last 3 games, they'll probably be a spoiler in that NFC West as they play the Rams, New Orleans, and the 49ers.
Gary Wilkins in, replacing Jesse Hester. Double tight end formation, 2nd and 7. Play action. And this is Wilkins, who stopped at the line of scrimmage. Flag is thrown on the play. Tim Harris on the tackle.
Boy, that play just took way too long to develop. Green Bay defense did a good job of staying at home. Look at Dave Brown. He's saying it's a holding call.
And the preliminary indication goes against the Falcons.
Holding, number 66, 2nd down.
And that's George Yarno. Coach Jim Hannafin had a good story to tell about George Yarno. Said he's kind of a macho type.
Well, he used to be with Tampa Bay, and you know, last week they were going against Reggie White. Reggie a lot of times lines up over the center, and Hannafin says, "Hey, George, we're going to cut block Reggie White." He says, "Oh, he gives you some macho stuff, and he doesn't want to cut him and all that." But Hannafin said, "Hey, look at all the other games, man. You cannot stop this guy one-on-one." So they ended up having to cut him using the back sometimes, and they were a lot more effective as a result. And look at Jim Hannafin, used to be the head coach of the St. Louis Cardinals, and boy, once you get in with him, he's got 1,000,001 stories to tell.
On 2nd and 17, Chris Miller back to pass. And gets it away to John Settle, too low and incomplete. And Alfonso Carricker was right on his rear.
You know, right now you can see the Falcons, they're having fun. You know, when you're a real tight game, you don't see many guys smiling. You see John Settle dropped it, but you can still laugh about it because they have a 17-point lead. They're loose, they're confident. They feel they're right back in the groove now after having some real troubles earlier in the season.
Third and 17. Going for Hester. Did he intercept it?
It's intercepted.
It's intercepted.
And the Murph.
And Murphy comes through again.
He made a big interception last week out in Buffalo, and he made another one right here. You know, I've gone against Mark Murphy for a number of years, and this is a great interception. It's the 2nd one of the day for him, his 5th of the season. And he really makes a great break on this ball. It's intended for Jesse Hester, number 89. And watch the concentration up in the air, holds on to it. You know, some guys just never quit, and Mark Murphy's one of them.
1st and 10 for the Packers at their own 20. 4:41 remaining in the game. Wright. And Wright's pass almost picked off by Tim Gordon.
And that should have been caught by Tim Gordon. You know, one of the things that Randy Wright is not nearly as mobile as Majkowski. So they got a 4-man line in there right now. You got a 17-point lead. This is when it becomes fun for your defense. Those guys are going to tee off with, what do they want? They want sacks. Everybody wants interceptions. You can loosen up because the game's not that close. Build up your stats. It's not easy being an offensive lineman in this situation.
Out of the flush package, Larry Mason, the lone back, on 2nd and 10. And the handoff goes to Mason, and Mason goes for maybe a yard. Not even. trying to get back to the line of scrimmage.
If you're a Packer fan, you're going, come on, what are you doing? Everybody knows they're going to run that draw play, but you've got to try to keep that rush honest. They tried it in the first half with Majkowski running quarterback draws. And right now, I think Infante's kind of stumped. He just doesn't know quite what to do to move the ball down the field.
3rd and 10. Nickel package by the Falcons. And right complete to Sharp, but not enough for the first down. As Elbert Shelley grabs him by his ankles, and Sharp is going to fall shy of the first down by about a yard. On 4th down,
they're going
for it. And Caruth fumbles the ball. Do the Falcons recover? They do.
When it rains, it pours. It just seems as though the Packers offense can do nothing right today. And Mike Gann, who had a big fumble recovery last week for a touchdown against Philadelphia, gets another one here today.
On the way back to the stadium, Brent Musburger with a reminder. This is Doubleheader Day on CBS coming up now. Some of you are going to see the Niners and the Cardinals, and many of you will watch the Saints visit the Super Bowl champion Redskins. New Orleans, tied for first in the NFC West, seeks a record-tying 11th straight road win. And Coach Jim Moore's versatile offense and defense will pose a stiff test for that man, Joe Gibbs. His Skins need to win to stay in the playoff hunt. That's coming up later. Right now, let's send you back to the game.
Take a look at the remaining schedule for the Falcons, and some reason for optimism. They feel they can go on a roll, particularly when they get Gerald Briggs back next week. This is a team that's had a lot of injuries, and they're definitely going to have a spoil factor. They play against San Francisco and the Rams in New Orleans. They're going to have a big impact on who wins the NFC West.
And from Marion Campbell's standpoint, he said, I want these guys to taste what winning is all about. Build toward next season. I think I've got the foundation. On 1st and 10, this is John Settle. And he certainly is a very pleasant surprise and a good piece of the foundation here in Atlanta. Gary, do the players really think about playing the part of spoiler if you're thinking as a Falcon fan and you look at that schedule?
You know, right now they're on the field. They don't care what the record is. They're just winning a game and having fun. But when you finally get into those last 3 games, yes, you do want to spoil someone else's season. But of course, that isn't the greatest motivator, not compared to the other guys who are trying to get to the playoffs.
2nd and 8 from the 31 of Green Bay. 2:50 remaining in the game. Packers trailing by 17. Wisenhunt in motion. Lang, the ball carrier. And dropped behind the line of scrimmage. Give the credit to Ron Pitts.
You know, I've also been in the situation too many times where your offense is having a difficult day. Even when we had Walter Payton in Chicago, we always didn't score points. He once had 275 yards rushing against Minnesota, and we only scored 10 points. So, you know, the important thing is when you get inside the huddle as a defensive player, you got to look in everybody's face, everybody's eyes, and say, look, you know, we're not quitting. You know, we believe in one another, and Green Bay just called a timeout there to not let them run the clock down to 2 minutes, and you know, it's frustrating. I mean, everybody wants to win, and you see Randy Wright and Majkowski, and you know, they're sick of losing, and this will be back-to-back shutouts. It's not something that you want to take back to Green Bay, because the people in Wisconsin, anyone who's a Packer fan, they want to see a resurgence. They're tired of losing.
As athletically talented as Majkowski is, he knows he can learn from Randy Wright, and Lindy Infante right now just wants someone to produce to keep from being shut out. You know, the last time that the Packers had 2 shutouts in a row came back in 1932. So you know good and well that Infante at least wants to put some points on the board. Yeah, you're asking who, huh?
Oh, I'm asking who. One was the Chicago Bears that shut them out. The other one was Portsmouth. Now you learn something every day. I didn't even know Portsmouth had a team.
3rd and 7. And Settle running. It's going to be shy of the first down marker. And we're at the 2-minute mark of the game. Atlanta leading by 17. A 43-yard field goal attempt coming up by Greg Davis. He missed a 39-yarder and a 54-yarder, but has made a 52-yarder. You figure it.
Well, this is a bad part of the field as well. Not particularly good field down here in Atlanta.
It's up. And this one is good. So Greg Davis has something to smile about, as do the fans here in Atlanta, Fulton County Stadium. Falcons blanking the Packers 20-0. And tonight on CBS, what keeps an old man young at heart? Find out when 60 Minutes tries to keep up with that 92-year-old legend, George Burns. That's tonight on 60 Minutes. That'll be followed by Murder, She Wrote, and then the CBS miniseries Internal Affairs Part 1, starring Richard Crenna and Kate Capshaw. That's all coming your way tonight on CBS.
Well, this is going to be the first game that Chris Miller has ever won at home in his brief career.
As the Falcons also try to break a 4-game losing streak at home. Haven't had much success here at home. 12, 25, and 1 the past 5.5 seasons. And Gary, you figure out the stats. I mean, statistically, some things definitely have not been going Atlanta's way, but the most important thing is that the scoreboard is all in their favor as Davis boosts this one good. In the end zone is Patrick Scott. And the cover team for the Falcons do the job, keeping Scott inside the 15.
You know, we always talk about how important third down conversions are. Today, Atlanta is 0 for 11. Last week, they were 2 for 14. Man, I'll tell you what, you can still win ball games even though the offense doesn't get those third downs, but those turnovers will kill you every time.
Randy Wright, 5th-year player out of Wisconsin, trying to get the Packers on the scoreboard to keep from being blanked out in consecutive weeks since 1932. And it won't happen. Intercepted. Ball is loose. No, the play was whistled dead, so Green Bay has thrown yet another interception. And guess who did the picking?
Scott Case. Scott's having fun. You know, we talked to him last week when we talked to him. I said, "Why do you wear a towel?" He said, "Because everybody else does." And he said, "You know, sometimes I feel I'm getting exposed out there, and you're out in that freeway, up and down." And he said, "All I got to do is wear black shoes and stand out even more." But today he's done a great job, and it's the second time that he's been able to get underneath a little out pattern and pick it off. And he's doing a good job of anticipating what the routes are going to be, which means the receivers are not giving him a different number of variety of routes in which to try to fool him.
Coming up next, an excellent one, the Saints and the Redskins. Remember, up at RFK in Washington. Scott Case's second interception gives it to the Falcons. This is settled.
Really, this is the time where you just say, "Hey, buddies, good game, and you know, we're going to be going down. Don't hit us too hard," because no sense in getting any unnecessary injuries at the end of a game. Wouldn't happen if you're doing a Bear or Packer game, but you know, these guys don't face each other too often. Bear Packer game, you'd be screaming and yelling, "I'll get you, I'll see you in Chicago." But you know, these guys aren't going to go against one another for at least another year.
Now, the last time these two teams met, 1983, 47-41 overtime victory by the Falcons. Second down, ball is marked at the 15 of Green Bay. Less than a minute remaining in the contest. And Chris Miller decides it's better to run the clock out as opposed to rubbing it in.
And the crowd's booing him. You know, the game's over.
Can't please them.
Yeah, you can't please them. Get only 30,000.
You want to give them a victory.
Yeah.
You get that.
Come on, guys. We beat them 20-0. They're still booing him. Chris Miller had a good game, and again, he's only a second-year quarterback. This team has a lot of confidence in him. And Lindy Infante, he's going to bring the Pack back. I believe it. It's not easy to believe right now when you have back-to-back shutouts, but He's a classy guy, as is that guy right there.
Well, the last Falcons shutout came on December 12th, 1982 against the New Orleans Saints, 35-0.
Two young quarterbacks who know each other, and they'll live to fight another day.
So the Falcons move to 3-7. We'll be back in just a moment.